On this episode of the 3 a.m. Coney, that was a really corny intro. I wanted my intro to be way cooler. Listen, I was told on Twitter that I'm a wannabe podcaster. I think a poor start like that really demonstrates it. But you know what we're here for. We're here to talk Joe Burrow speaking. We're here to talk FC Cincinnati being fun again and notorious no-hitters. Like no-hitters that lead to losses. And the absolute bottom, that is the Cincinnati Reds season. A ton of fun today on the 3 a.m. Coney. I almost forgot the bad news. The horrible news that actually won't affect the 2022 season. But it seems like horrible news right now. Jessie Bates is holding out. So we'll discuss all that and more on the 3 a.m. Coney. And it starts right now. Big welcome in to the 3 a.m. Coney. What's up, guys? Just me today. We're going to break down essentially Cincinnati sports news. We've got Joe Burrow speaking to the press for the first time since Super Bowl 56. We've got video from practice that we're going to go through here in just a second. We've got Jessie Bates holding out, that entire situation, which we have to discuss. It's major news. You got to talk about Jessie Bates holding out, but I'll calm those nerves, I think, at least for the 2022 season. I mean, it depends on your opinion of Jessie Bates and whether you think he's a long-term piece of multiple Super Bowl championships. We'll get into that discussion later in the show. We'll touch lightly on FC Cincinnati because they're fun again, and they're going to give something to watch in the summer while we're busy being sad about the Reds and wishing the World Cup were in the summer. And instead, we're going to have to watch FC Cincinnati and the MLS. But this is actually a great thing for the MLS, and we'll dive into that later in the show. But where I wanted to start is with some practice highlights. They're back at training camp, and I wanted to take a look at some of this stuff because it's fun. Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals are back at practice. Shout out Kelsey Conway for the video. And it's a dime from Joey B. We love to see it. We've got Joe Burrow at his press conference. We'll play this clip. Thanks, Mike Petragula, for the video.
At this point,
we'll restart it.
This is my first offseason in the NFL, so I've been able to take advantage of that with as far as my body and my throwing and my mind and all that. It's been, obviously I've been grinding, but it's also been relaxing, not have to worry about am I going to be ready for the season. I can just focus on getting my body right, making sure I'm healthy, and then relaxing.
Last offseason, it was rehab, and it was the deep ball. What's your main thing you're focused on improving this offseason?
Really, it's just my entire game at this point. Tweaking little things here and there. At this point, I'm not going to have a big overhaul of anything that I'm doing. I'm just looking to refine my entire game as a whole.
Just practicing.
So that's some comments from Joe Burrow, and that's our launching off point. And you said it, he said it himself, I'm not going to accept losing. The actual quote is, I'm not going to accept losing, not I won't accept losing. Although this is what ESPN ran with, so I'll go ahead and run with it as well. Joe Burrow, I won't accept losing. So I love the tenor of this press conference. First off, it was awaited, long-awaited press conference because they waited a long time to start their program. They were the latest starting team in the NFL. So we haven't heard from Joe Burrow in a very long time. He's had a lot of time to stew and process. And I really loved where I was always going to love what he said. I feel like that's so hard to do on this podcast is to say, well, I didn't like what he said because he's normally money on the mic, but I thought he was money on the mic again. But I like the tenor of not being so over the top about the Super Bowl loss. Because there is a real universe that exists where, there's stories of people like having to bury footballs and talking about, we really have to get over what was the unbelievably devastating loss. And Joe Burrow mentioned that, Kurt Warner mentioned that to him about how they think they took the Super Bowl loss to Tom Brady too heavily, and it kind of ruined the next year. And so the ability to not take it too seriously of being able to watch the film the next day. I like that tenor of the press conference. So I enjoyed what Joe Burrow had to say. It was just good to hear from him, but it was all basic quarterback stuff. Yeah, he checked the Jamar Chase, had the go route. It was wide open. Wish he had more time. No reason for us to be sad about that. That's all I really have to say about the press conference. I don't want to go on and on about it. There are certain people like Jess, who I'm going to marry here in a few days. Oh, this is like 13, 12 days. She's like, oh, he hasn't talked. He needs to talk more. He needs to lead more. I think Joe Burrow's tenor this offseason has been perfect. I think he's a leader within the organization. He talked about, I don't have individual goals. I only have team goals. You love to hear stuff like that. He hit the cliches today. He made the press room laugh. A-plus press conference from Joe Burrow. And you know we're running out of sports topics when we lead the show with Joe Burrow speaking. Especially when we have this news. Jessie Bates deciding to hold out for the Cincinnati Bengals, at least announcing that he's going to hold out. So to me, this is a major story, and at the same time, it's a non-story. It's one of those things in life where it feels like it's going to happen and have a major impact on your life right now, but that's actually like a year and a half down the line, 2 years down the line. This situation is simply not going to lead to Jessie Bates not playing for the Cincinnati Bengals in 2022. With where the organization is, with the history of safety markets, with Jessie Bates' personality, with the talent of the team, with what the team did behind Jessie Bates, there is so much combining that there is no way that Jessie Bates isn't going to play for the Cincinnati Bengals in 2022. He will be on the field for Cincinnati in the 2022 season because of these things. One, it's the Cincinnati Bengals, and I don't think they're going to trade him because they are not going to get fair value for him. They feel like he should fetch a first or second rounder, and if they don't get anything like that, and anyway, that's not going to help you for 2022. You feel like you have a window now before you have to pay Joe Burrow. So they would want players back. And the NFL doesn't do 2-for-1. So there's no way you're going to accrue the value for Jessie Bates that you would normally be able to accrue and bring in. And excuse the Amazon person who keeps ringing the doorbell. Like, just leave it, dude. Just leave it. It's okay. I'll go down and get it. But when we talk about Jessie Bates, there's no way that the Cincinnati Bengals can accrue the value for 2022 that Jessie Bates would provide by simply playing. They know that Jessie Bates, it would be ill-advised for him to turn down $13 million and not play on the franchise tag this year. He already knows the defense. Do you really even need him at training camp? These are the things that the Bengals are saying, and they have this replacement, and quite honestly, it might be better to have his replacement play all of training camp. Because what if Dax Hill is close, even within somewhat of the realm of Jessie Bates as a rookie? I mean, your leverage is just going all out the window throughout all of training camp. So the Bengals aren't going to be able to get the value for 2022 that Jessie Bates would provide by being available and by playing. So there's no trade you can have because if he leaves for a free agent at $14 million a year, you get the comp pick. So the Bengals are like, well, you better give us more than a comp pick, more than what we value the comp pick and the value that he provides for what they see as a Super Bowl window in 2022. So I just think the Bengals are going to sit still. So then now it's in Jessie Bates' camp. Is he going to not play for $13 million guaranteed just by signing the tender and showing up? He's not going to play the whole season. Here's the thing about holdouts in Cincinnati. This holdout, the starting safety of the defending AFC champion, just announced he's going to hold out all of training camp, and nobody in the national media blinked an eye. Nobody blinked an eye. They do not care enough about the Cincinnati market or the Bengals for a holdout like this to have any impact or put massive pressure on the Bengals. Jamal Adams holding out in New York, things like this in the New York market, oh, that's the top of the NFL news cycle. It's drama. And poor Jessie, there's not going to be drama out of Cincinnati. They're just not going to pay attention. Oh, yeah, that Jessie Bates guy's holding out. Yeah, the Jessie Bates guy who tipped the pass into Von Bell's hands to win the AFC Championship game. And that's where the Cincinnati market kind of benefits the Bengals, because nobody blinked an eye. I'm not seeing it taking over Western Conference Finals news, but you bet if it were a major market in the Super Bowl and their starting safety were holding out, if the Honey Badger were holding out going into last season, major story. NFL, Collins leading it, right? It's on all the talk shows. But for the Bengals, it's not. Nobody's discussing it. And that's bad for Jessie Bates and his leverage. And is he going to sit out all year? Where's his value going to go? This is the safety position. It's not like an elite wide receiver or even Le'Veon Bell when he held out and then got this massive guaranteed deal from the Jets and basically stole money from New York. That doesn't happen for Jessie Bates. That doesn't happen for safeties. So if Jessie Bates sits out the entire season and God forbid Dax Hill provides somewhat equivalent value and the defense improves because everybody else improves and you feel like you don't even miss Jessie Bates, my God, what is he going to get on the open market then? The Bengals are probably going to be able to get him back for $9 million, $10 million because he just sat out the whole year. So for the Bengals, you're just going to sit still because you know he's going to play. He will play this year for $13 million, and they'll have a kumbaya moment. We'll discuss a contract after the season. Hopefully we can keep Jessie, but we're excited for 2022. Jessie will be like, yeah, I'm going to go try to win a ring. And if I'm able to, great, I'll make a bunch of money on the open market. And that's where this thing is going to end. This is final posturing to see if Jessie can maybe get a deal out of the Bengals. I feel like the Bengals are kind of set at whatever number they have, and that number is clearly not enough for Jessie Bates. That's where this situation is going. They literally are having his replacement start in camp right now at the free safety position in Dax Hill, and they have another fifth-round pick in Tyson Anderson, who I really like, that they drafted that can play that position. So that's where this is going, and it's going to be a whole hoopla this whole time, and we all know it's ending there. So it would blow my mind. It would blow my cap off if the Bengals traded Jessie Bates. It would also blow my mind, knowing the character that Jessie Bates is, if he didn't play. That would blow my mind. So two things that got to blow my mind have to happen for him not to be a Bengal in 2022. Then it's not going to happen. So Jessie Bates, can't wait for him to play this year. I really like him as a player. Do I think he should be the best, highest paid safety in the league? No. And I don't think we should pay for a moment in a game. I think that's how you kind of ruin a dynasty that's about to be the most expensive offense in the NFL. If you want to keep T. Higgins, if you want to keep Jamar Chase. I mean, God forbid Hayden Hurst has an amazing year. Now, what are you going to pay a tight end $11 million? Where are you getting that money from? What if Logan Wilson is all pro? What if Cheeto takes another step? I mean, seriously, there's just not room for a free safety that wants to be the highest paid free safety in the league, and most of it guaranteed, especially when the Bengals are, it's not in the Bengals model. Maybe I would do something different, but I'm not really sure I would with the way he performed in the regular season. And again, I'd love to get it done. $12.5 million, sure. You could even talk me into a certain structured deal where it's heavy in the first year. Whatever. So if they got the deal done, I wouldn't mind it. But I also understand where the Bengals are coming from. I understand where Jessie's coming from. And that's kind of is where it is. And that's where it's going to be. Until the season starts and Jessie Bates plays. And that is what it is. Okay, FC Cincinnati, they're giving us something entertaining to talk about. We will get to the no-hitter that the Reds lost. And, more of a rant about Hunter Green. But let's talk about FC Cincinnati. They won 4 straight. Oh. And for the first time, they won 4 straight. They had 5 league games in 15 days, won 4 of those. Pat Noonan is doing a great job. And I'll be honest, I followed FC Cincinnati closer than any soccer team in my life. I follow Bayern Munich, but they win the Bundesliga every year. Why do I need to watch those games? I mean, they're seriously minus 1,300 for most of these games. Am I going to sit around and watch Bundesliga? I played soccer in high school. It was my sport. My mother's German. Soccer's huge in my life. And I watched FC Cincinnati to the point that I couldn't anymore for a long time. So I'm glad that we're back around and we're actually at the point where they're worth watching. And not only are they worth watching, they're an historic team now at least according to MLS's Twitter, and I can't believe this is accurate. I swear they put him in the top 10 when they won a couple games to start before. But let's take a look at it. FC Cincinnati entering the top 10. There you see him at 8. The top 10 of the MLS Power Rankings. This came out today. There you see New York City at the top. A lot of young talent, too. MLS is a ton of fun. I'm very excited to watch FC Cincinnati compete. Are they going to be an MLS Cup title team? No. Will they make the playoffs? Probably, because it's a big field. Will it be convincingly? Will there be close games throughout the summer? Yes. There's just not enough talent on the team to go win the MLS Cup. But the way the MLS is structured, they are competitive enough to make a lot of noise and to be a really fun team. And that's what this city needed with the Cincinnati Reds just ruining the summer, with the World Cup and the corrupt organization that's FIFA ruining the World Cup by putting it in December. So you have those two things that absolutely explode, which should have been a really fun 2022 summer, sports-wise, and it's thrown it completely to the wolves. But FC Cincinnati is saving it. And honestly, when we think about the World Cup placement, this has always been the criticism of the MLS schedule. Hey, why is the MLS putting their soccer league in the summer when the premier event in the sport happens in the summer every 4 years? And then another premier event that you'll get a lot of players from, the European Cup, happens every 2 years. And your own continental cups also happen during the summer. It's been the main criticism of the MLS schedule. But then the MLS comes back and says, do you really want us playing on Saturdays and Sundays in the fall in America? Are you outside of your mind? Nobody's going to watch FC Cincinnati when the Bengals are on. Nobody's going to watch FC Cincinnati if the Bearcats are on, let alone the Buckeyes. So I understand that argument for the scheduling of the MLS. But what this summer is providing the MLS is that space of there's no World Cup, and normally it would interrupt the rhythm of the MLS. And instead, they're picking up a lot of rhythm. They're finally back on their schedule. It feels back to normal a little bit. And at least for the city of Cincinnati, that team being competitive means people are going to go to the games instead of the Reds. They're going to have great attendance. They're going to be a lot of fun. They've got a high-character team, a high-character coach. I'm excited for FC Cincinnati. Are they going to win the MLS Cup? That's a discussion for another day. There's no reason to put championship expectations on it. I think that I might have did that a little too early, and it kind of ruined my early experience because I was like, I think they can make that jump like other expansion teams had made in Major League Soccer, but they weren't talented enough, and I really should have seen that instead of walking myself into the hope trap. That's on me. We won't hang on that forever. Next thing I want to talk about, real quick, last tweet I want to show you guys from the press conference. Shout out Cincy Problems. Give them a follow, the best Twitter account around. On the last you guys see it. It's sad. On the last offensive snap of the Super Bowl, Bengals quarterback Joe Burrow said he checked to the go route that wide receiver Jamar Chase ran. Just didn't have enough time to get the ball to him. That's from Ben_Baby. Follow him as well. And it's it's sad. But whatever. I'd rather be right here. Listen, guys, this is the thing about this Super Bowl moment before we talk about Hunter Green's no-hitter. This is the thing about Super Bowl moments, and this is the thing about sad moments in sports. I had this argument with Browns fans for years when the Bengals were making the playoffs and losing in the first round. The end of the season is going to be sad no matter how you slice it. The trick to it is delaying the end of the season as long as possible. And if you're a competitive guy, right, in terms of you're following your sports teams and you really want them to win, right, and you're a competitive guy, however, I think most people that watch sports and sports fans are competitive. But the thing about it is Super Bowl moments like Jamar Chase running open down the field, I would rather my season end right there every single year than end a round sooner. And that's how sports should work. But we have this weird warped perspective that like reaching the pinnacle and falling short should be a bad thing. Like that it's better. Like the perfect example I go to it time and time again. If you listen to the show a bunch, which like, rate, subscribe on YouTube, please. Follow the Twitter account. I mean, that would be helpful. But when we think about Super Bowl moments like that, would you rather be the 1991 Cowboys, who lost 38-6 in the divisional round to the Detroit Lions? It's the last playoff game the Detroit Lions ever won, is a 22-point blowout, a 32-point blowout of the Cowboys. Would you rather your season end like that? Or if your right guard could block a second longer, you'd be hoisting the Lombardi? It's an insane question to think anything else. Like, would you rather make the finals, for a LeBron James example, 8 straight times? Or would you rather lose in the first round every time? Well, technically, it's less heartbreak, I guess. What type of defeatist attitude is that? I would rather relive that horrible, emotional roller coaster every year. And this is the thing, and I can talk to Bills fans about it, and you know what? Deep down, I know it sucks that they lost 4 straight Super Bowls, but I would take it. I would take it. 4 straight years of being there and falling short. Yeah, it would suck a little bit. Yeah, it would suck the life out of me, no doubt, if the Bengals lost 4 straight Super Bowls, but I would take that over them missing the playoffs this year, over them not winning a playoff game again for another 31 years. It's like this insane warped perspective about sports that I'm supposed to be more sad that we almost won the Super Bowl. I mean, it's crazy. And I'm delaying it with Bengals talk because we have to talk about the Reds. You know what? I got this mouse so that I don't tap the computer screen so it doesn't shake the camera. And what did I do? I tapped the computer screen. Let's try it again. Let's talk about the Reds. The notorious no-hitter, Hunter Green. And I feel so bad for this kid that ownership screwed him so bad. The fact that he has been put into this situation with this immense amount of talent he has, and I know his ERA is whatever, over 6. I don't care what his ERA is. He's not really ready to be a big league pitcher. If this were a competitive team, he'd be the 5th starter. You give him 110 innings. It'd be a ton of fun. And then he contributes to a World Series champion next year. But we don't know what we're doing. So instead, he's going to be the best piece of a horrendous team for the next 3 or 4 years until we trade him to the Yankees. And that's basically where Cincinnati fans are falling with this. I mean, what else are you supposed to think? The way this organization has acted, the way everything has unfolded with the Cincinnati Reds, how else are you supposed to think other than, well, that's nice. We have this dominant pitcher that can lead a no-hitter. It wasn't his no-hitter, but 7 1/3 innings of a no-hitter that can have this high-end talent of pumping 100 and striking a bunch of guys out and be a guy that you could see dominate the best lineups in Major League Baseball in the biggest games. Oh, we bring him in and the team's not competitive. Okay, so what are we going to do now? Well, the team might be competitive for a year under him, but then they won't be able to afford it anymore, so then they'll trade him. And then he'll pitch in a World Series for the Yankees or the Dodgers or the Cubs or some big market team that can afford to pay him, and then that's how it's going to go. What else are you supposed to think as a Cincinnati sports fan when you see stuff like this? What else are you supposed to think? And I keep seeing this unnecessary, insane optimism from a lot of these people. Well, you know, Hunter Green developing and then this can piece together. And listen, I don't think the Reds are even going to lose 110 games. They might not even lose 100. I think that they're going to piece some things together. Votto will come back. They've had weird injury luck. I understand that. But this team is nowhere close to competitive. They are nowhere close to jumping to competitive. And it's just such a shame they have a player of this magnitude, of this talent, and they don't know what to do with his talent. And they've wasted his entry into Major League Baseball, and they'll waste his early career in Major League Baseball, and he'll thirst to pitch in competitive games in front of big crowds. He tweeted out to the Cincinnati fans, please come out for my start, and nobody showed up because they're that mad at management, and they think this guy is, they don't really care. They know that we're going to trade him. And when your ownership says we cannot compete, when they literally say that before the season starts, what else are you going to think? What else are you supposed to think as a fan? Please give your money to FC Cincinnati instead of the Cincinnati Reds. You know, when I'm in the Cincinnati area, I was going to go to a Reds game, try to go to a Reds game. I'm down there in Ohio for the week of my wedding. I wanted to go to a Reds game, but I'm not giving money to the Castellinis. I'm not going to do that. We're not going to go give money to the Castellinis. I'd rather sit around, play cards than do that. And that is how much they've mishandled this. And they don't even have the decency to do a PR push for you to at least make you convince in your head that maybe they're trying. So that's where we're at with Cincinnati sports. We gave you the rundown. We gave you the whole thing. 25 minutes. Fun Coney. I really appreciate everybody listening and watching. And please like the video, share it. And if we could get 7 more subscribers on YouTube, then I can prove this guy on Twitter wrong who says I'm lame because it's under 100. So we get it to 101. Now I can go to this guy and be like, listen, man, now it's at 101. What are you going to say now? What are you going to say now? You could help me out. Either way, thanks for listening to my ranting and my raving. Jessie Bates will play in 2022. Don't worry about it. I guess you want him for 5-10 years. I mean, sure. Final thing about the Jessie Bates thing, actually, and if you're still listening after I did my almost outro, whatever, I wanted to actually mention this about Jessie Bates. I feel like this situation reminds me of like some quote that I definitely made up in my own head, that if you focus too much on nickels and dimes, you might miss the $20 bill that's sitting right in front of you. And that's what I think Jessie Bates is doing in this situation. He is fighting for, I'm going to guess these numbers. Again, I'm not a cap expert, whatever. I think he's fighting for about 14.5 million a year. Let's say it's 14.5. I think the Bengals are offering him, let's say 12. This is the most extreme example. So that's $2.5 million a year over 4 years. Do the quick math in my head. That's $10 million. $10 million in cash that Jessie Bates is fighting for here, essentially. Because the guaranteed money, the Bengals, the way they do the look at Trey Waynes. He barely played, almost got all of his money. Almost every dollar of his money he got. So Jessie Bates, it's about $10 to $11 million in guarantees. I think that value of doing this holdout and then going to play somewhere else where they won't be nearly as competitive because they're going to be taking a swing at a $14.5 million free safety. The fact that you're going to go do that, yes, you'll make $10 million more over this contract. You will not make that on the other side of it. The fact that there isn't a thought from Jessie Bates about and it might not be from Jessie Bates, it might be his representation. I don't want to demonize the guy. Business is business. But when your business is NFL contracts, we have to talk about it. I just don't understand the $10 million you make in this contract. Do you make it up in the second? With the situation you put yourself in, with your marketing situation, with your all of these things, your stardom, your loyalty, your future. I mean, look at the money you can make in the Cincinnati market moving forward. Look at the money you can make by being a franchise legend, or not even the money. How about the emotional cost, the sentiment? And I just, is that $10 million really going to actually make you more money in the long run? It's like my friends that do this, that want to save money, and I think my dad does this crap. They want to save money on air conditioning. So what do? Well, at night, when I'm asleep, this is genius thinking. At night, when I'm asleep, I'll turn off my air conditioning. I won't even notice. I'll wake up a little sweaty, whatever. No big deal. Well, it turns out that nickel and diming your way by making your room not cold at night does damage to your brain long term, because your room should be cold when you sleep. And they do studies on it. So if you actually kept your house cold, your room cold, whatever it may be, then you would actually sleep better. You would think better when you wake up in the morning. You would have better, more fulfilled sleep, and you would have a better life. So that nickel and diming cost you that $20 bill that's right in front of your face. And I just, this is again a complaint from my childhood that my dad kept the house so hot. I think that's essentially what we are. That's essentially where we are. Again, I delayed the end of the show there because now I can say that I did 30 minutes. We do it again. And listen, I touch the computer once again when I have this mouse. It's a serial problem. I'm not meant to produce and talk at the same time. It's a very difficult job. It's a very difficult job. The closest thing I ever did to it was work in the ESPN truck when I would have a technical director, but I would never have to press a button. I would just talk, and I was like, oh, ready camera 2, cut to camera 2, ready camera 3, cut to camera 3. I wouldn't actually have to press the button. It was always done by a technical director. And then I'd done the technical directing thing, but not at the same time that I have to talk. It's so difficult. So I excuse myself. Thank you guys so much for watching. If we do this more and more, maybe we'll get more viewers, and maybe the podcast won't be so, I don't know, not viewed. Whatever. If you like it, please share it. And yeah, we'll see you guys next time. I'm actually going to leave this time.